see Johnny.
Well, welcome everyone. Thank you so much everyone for being here. My name is Jessie Miles and I'm the Executive Director here at the McKinleyville Chamber of Commerce. This is the 10th year that the McKinleyville Chamber has been putting on the State of McKinleyville Forum, and we're just really excited to be able to provide space to invite some of our local community leaders and organizations out and to give our community an opportunity to gather and to talk about the exciting things that are happening and the concerns and more. So thank you to everyone who's here in all the different capacities. I also want to take this moment to thank our sponsors, Redwood Capital Bank and Wells Commercial. Alyssa Woods are our two sponsors, if we can give them a little round of applause. I'm going to take just a moment or two to talk a little bit about the McKinleyville Chamber, and then we will move on to our speakers tonight and then end with the question and answer and some more opportunity to mingle and network and talk with our community. So over the past year, the McKinleyville Chamber has had a clear focus. We've been working to strengthen connections, to support local businesses, and to create spaces where the community can gather. Through 2025, we leaned into this work and, and increased our membership, our reach, and our impact. We actively support our members and community through networking, promotion, referrals, advocacy, and connections. And we work to support our community by bringing residents and visitors together in activities like this and in many of our large events. Some many of you hopefully are familiar with, such as Music in the Park, Pony Express Days, and more. We have also focused on and continue to grow our civic engagement and our youth-focused work. A thriving town is not only about today's economy, it's about tomorrow's leadership and opportunity. And we've worked on doing that through things like partnering with McKinleyville High School with a career fair. We've worked on a mentorship program that's been going on for several years now that we work over a semester with a small cohort of students. And our goal is really to show the students about not only the opportunities they have as they enter the world, but specifically about opportunities that they have right here in Humboldt County and all the amazing businesses, amazing people, and we talk about what their paths and journeys have looked like. Because as a senior in high school, it can feel really scary, and you feel like you have to know exactly what you might need to do, and as most of you all know, you're probably doing something different than you thought you were going to do when you were a senior in high school. Some of you may not be, but many of you probably are. So we just really work to connect our businesses, our community, and our leaders with our youth to look forward to the future for that. We're also starting this year, for the first time in our region, a National Civics Bee. So middle school students have the opportunity to apply to this national activity and talk about what problems they see in their community and how they want to make change. And then they will have opportunities to participate at a state and national level, depending on how their essays do. So we're really excited to bring that to our area. Our strategic priorities for our chamber looking forward are, let me move my notes. First, growth. We're working to grow our capacity, growing member value, and growing the impact we can have. Our second priority is advocacy, being a trusted voice for business and a connector to information that matters. And third, connections, creating meaningful opportunities for businesses and neighbors to connect, collaborate, and build a stronger sense of place. Tonight is part of that. This forum is a chance to listen, learn, and to stay curious. It's a chance to understand what's happening, what's changing, and where we can work together. So thank you all for being here. Thank you for caring about the future of McKinleyville. And now I am pleased to introduce our moderator tonight, Scott Binder.
Good evening. My name is Scott Binder. I am on the board of directors of the McKinleyville Community Services District. I am the vice chair of the McKinleyville Municipal Advisory Committee and the executive director of the McKinleyville Senior Center, located right across the hall from here. Anyway, I'm 62 years old. I was raised in the hills up overlooking Clam Beach. Over my lifetime, I've seen a lot of change in McKinleyville. From 2-lane streets to what we have now. The house that my wife and I live at was once a big field with berry vines and ant hills, and we have bike trails carved through it. Wonderful place to ride, wonderful place to grow up. But we have seen a lot of change. You know, some of this change has been good, some of the change has been bad, but it really all depends upon who you ask. Okay, but one thing is for certain, is that change is inevitable. And we, the community, are charged as participants in our community. Our community leaders are actually the people. And the people who enact the changes are our leaders. 3 such leaders are impaneled to the left of me. Tonight, we have Will Franklin from the North Coast Small Business Development Center. From the County of Humboldt, we have 5th District Supervisor Stephen Madrone. And from the McKinleyville Community Services District, Park and Recreation Director Kirsten Messmer. And thank you all for agreeing to be part of the State of McKinleyville Forum 2026. Okay, and with that, the way this is going to work is that each of you will be given 15 minutes to make a presentation, upon which time, after each person speaks, there will be cards. You'll see the cards that are sitting on the tables there. If you have any questions for them, or the people, even the people tabling, the fire department, the sheriff's office, Life Plan Humboldt, Humboldt Commons, or any of the other tables, they're also eligible to receive your questions. And after the people are done speaking, then we'll collect all the cards, or the cards will be collected in between the speakers. Then Kaylin will be taking the questions, putting them in a stack, and handing them off to me, and I'll be asking the questions to our panelists or our tableists. So that's how that's going to work. Okay, and with no further ado, I'd like to turn the meeting over to Director Franklin.
Let's start the show. Okay, thank you. I remember McKinleyville having a couple stop signs, and my dad lived out on Murray Road. We call it McKinley Brook, right? Not quite Field Brook. Anyway, up off Elizabeth. I don't know how many stop signs I blew every time there was a new light or a new oof. So don't look. I do know that there's new lights now, so I'm stopping. I live in McKinleyville and a lifelong resident of Humboldt County. Tonight I'm here as to give a small business overview, and mostly through Humboldt County overview. And we'll use Humboldt County data as a proxy for what's happening in McKinleyville, and it'll probably then generate a lot of questions afterwards. We can sort of understand a bigger context and where McKinleyville's going to be a part of all that ecosystem. I want to just talk a little bit about Startup Humboldt if you haven't seen it. I'm the founding member, one of them, and the operating manager of this really cool innovation hub. It's in Arcata, but it's here to support entrepreneurship. It brings a lot of partners together, and it really helps the Small Business Development Center achieve its goals, which is to uplift businesses, get them to start, grow, and thrive, okay? So just in case you haven't heard about it, come check out. It's open to the public. It's a great co-working space. It's a place to meet entrepreneurs and find the Small Business Development Center also. So if you need some one-on-one advising or training, you can find us in Arcata on 7th Street. So as the director of the North Coast Small Business Development Center, I had no clue I was going to do that in high school, so Jesse, you're absolutely right. I find myself managing grants and working to fulfill the objectives of these grants. And the grants are coming from the state and the Fed and on philanthropic organizations to help small businesses. And a small business is really basically 500 people or less, so that's pretty much any business in Humboldt County. And I get to do this as a free service then. It's really great. I'm honored to be able to just support my community by starting businesses or helping them grow. And if you've ever heard of me at a chamber mixer, we're a nonprofit here to make you profit, right? Pretty cool. So that's my tagline. We do a lot of cool stuff. So I'm speaking as a business advisor who gets to interact with a lot of different businesses, both just starting up and thriving here for decades and want to grow or something. So I have data, and I know that's probably like, oh, you're going to kill me with data. But I think it generates a lot of questions. And I think then the data is a great way to give you context for any questions you have too. I don't know the future, but we can look at the past and see trends. And in science and in business, two similar things that I've had experience with. You look at a trend, and you don't know the future, but you can maybe project it. Now the big if is the context around that, and things change. Thank you, we just have change. So your forecast is only good as your assumptions and then the environment in which it's happening. But we're going to look at some data, look at some trends, and I really like that tonight because there's a lot of complexity and uncertainty in the world, but this data kind of grounds you, and it's actually pretty hopeful. So I get to be here being the cheerleader for hope tonight. So we have 30 years of really good data, and if you ever run a grant, you know you have to report on your metrics and your deliverables, and oh boy, does SBDC know how to do that, and we're good. But what we measure is really impactful, and it's really interesting proxies for what's going on in the small business world. I see about 544 businesses a year. That's pretty cool. So that's a big chunk of, that's a good sample size. And to contrast that with just yesterday, I was walking across the plaza and a client of mine stopped me. She was driving and she says, "How's it going?" I'm like, "How's business?" And she says, "January was actually pretty good." And so I love to hear that, right? She's my client and she's doing pretty good. She's doing it in a brick and mortar, and she's doing it in restaurants where that's shrinking all across the nation. And we know restaurants and brick and mortar retails are having a hard time. So yay for that, right? So she had a good January, but that's one sample size. So this will put a little more context into it, which is really cool. We are creating jobs in Humboldt County. Of the people I'm working with, we're creating jobs. And we're creating more jobs than we have in the last few years. And the last few years have been pretty good because there was all the stimulus money, and yay, we're coming out of COVID. You know, we're still doing pretty good. That's good, right? That's real data. Is there a laser on here maybe? Cool. This is a little bit of a blip, but if I average it across, we're still increasing revenue for our businesses. Businesses are growing. That allows them to hire and create jobs, right? And that's driven by access to capital. These are the number of loans we're helping people get. These are different businesses accessing capital to get new trucks, to get new equipment, to expand, to buy their commercial real estate and not lease anymore. And that access to capital helps them grow, and that access to that growth helps them create jobs. So I love what I'm doing.
Is that it says 28 million. Is it supposed to be 2 million?
No, it was, good catch. Ignore that. It was a one-time, we started a new process to gather data that we missed in a couple of years. So it would be better to average that over the last couple of years. So the point would really be, we're still seeing some pretty good growth. But I want to point out that that's related to capital, which helps grow, which helps start businesses, and helps create jobs. So things are happening in Humboldt County. We see boarded up buildings, right? We hear about bankruptcies. That's tough. I'm not a Pollyanna, that's true too, but we often don't see this really cool data that says, hey, the sky's not falling, we're okay. One really great bright spot, I work with the North Coast Growers Association very tightly, and they are doing great stuff. And it's even going to bring me to tears. Because that's a lot of money that's in our county now, in our community's pockets. That's called food sovereignty, that's called a circular economy, that's awesome. All right, thanks, farmers. Thank you, farmers. So we do business classes with NCGA. They teach the farming practices, and we come in and say, hey, this is how you keep your books and make sure you're growing the crops that give you the maximum return on your investment. That helps everybody. We have more farmers in farmers markets. They're turning away vendors and artists to make room for farmers for the first time, and that number keeps going up. So buy local, go to a farmer's market, keep the money circulating here. Yeah. So things are changing though. Things are changing, that's for sure. And so when we say there's some dark spots and some challenges, there's also some bright spots. And this is data from Dr. Robert Eiler of Sonoma. He's the economist that he's the state economist. He's in front of legislators all the time. He's our economic analyst for all of California. He breaks it down. We get to talk to him a lot, thanks to being in the economic development world. And, you know, in Humboldt, compared to California, we're seeing a lot of growth in the last few years. Healthcare is one of them. Ag, farm, there you go, there's that ag. Forestry is even on the up and up, thanks to Mad River. Mad River, like, new innovative wood products, right? And construction's doing pretty good. I just talked to Pablo, who said he's slammed. So there are some bright spots, okay? Even in the age of AI taking all our jobs, oh my God, right? In Humboldt County, there's opportunities. And that's pretty good. I mentioned AI. Because that's all, if you read the headlines, if you read news, that's all you ever hear about, right? And on the national scale, it's huge. Our GDP is really driven by building out compute and building out data centers. If you take away the data centers, our GDP is flat to zero. I got 5 minutes. But I want to point out, let's go. It's ironic though, the tech is coming from the tech industries first. The people losing jobs are the vibe coders and the coders, right? You used to get a job as an IT or a computer scientist and you had it made. Watch out. But where are we doing well? We want to be in fishing and ag. We want healthcare. We're in a spot where we're going to be fine and insulated for a long time. So just another piece of good news for Humboldt County. There are challenges in Humboldt County. Increased costs are big. After the COVID shock and tariff shocks, it's just not easing up, and that's tough on some businesses. It's really affecting certain sectors and retailers. What's funny, this came from a survey from Arcata Chamber, Eureka Chamber, McKinleyville Chamber. We all helped and got a really good survey of our local data. And if you've ever owned a business in Humboldt County, you know that attracting qualified workers is a big deal. That's pretty funny. I always like that one. Anyway, so, but interesting. Here's some headwinds though. We continue to buy online more as a culture. So way more important to shop local if you can, keep those dollars here. It's just a trend that's not going away. It's up and up and up and up. Look at that blip in COVID. That's the increase, and that's crazy. But shop local, please. Another headwind is tourism, but it's not as bad as it seems. There's actually foot traffic out there. They're not buying as much in the local stores. Really interestingly, big box stores are seeing growth. Ouch. I got 3 minutes. So, right. I'm going to be able to pull this off, I think. But this is real data. It's not, the sky's not falling. People are still coming to our locale. And that's good. And we have new plans to work together as a county to do some promotions. That's coming out of the Humboldt County studies, Humboldt County Economic Development Departments. Oh, maybe Steve can tell us a little bit about what's going on there. That's great. Here's something interesting, and I'll end with this maybe. This is the survey from Humboldt County businesses, and 80% of their revenue comes from locals. So even with expanded tourism and changes in tourism, it's still us and each other's that we rely on. So shop at your neighbor's shop. Especially Seagoat. Is Seagoat in the house? That place is amazing. My wife does work, and she loves the co-working space. I got all kinds of ceramics now. It's great. So small businesses create 50% of all GDP. Small businesses create 50% of all jobs. Your neighbors rely on you. And I'm going to end with shop local, but we'll take some cool questions later about how this relates to maybe McKinleyville. Yeah, there we go. Entrepreneurship, that's a little entrepreneurship day right there. Thank you.
Thank you, Will. I appreciate you. Okay, remember the cards that are sitting on the chairs. If you have a question for Will or any of the other panelists or any of the people tabling in the back, please write them down, put your hand in the air with your card, and a chamber representative will be by to pick them up. And after our panelists speak, we'll be getting right into your questions. At this time, I would like to introduce to you 5th District Supervisor Steve Madrone.
Good evening, everybody. How y'all doing? Good. So, what's the best community in Humboldt County? What? Excuse me? Yeah, McKinleyville, right? Incredible community. I don't live in McKinleyville, but I've been here. I'm a relative newcomer. I've only been in Humboldt County for 53 years. But I have 4 kids and 19 grandkids and 2 great-grandkids that live here in this community. So I'm very vested, and I love McKinleyville. How about a shout out to all of our businesses in this community, right? You know, the things I have learned about McKinleyville over the years are that it is really a great community of dedicated and committed individuals and businesses. The last 2 days, I took the opportunity to walk Central Avenue and knock on almost every door of every business in town. Because I thought if we're going to be talking about, if we're going to be talking about the businesses, well, how about, what do they have to say? I mean, the chamber, we have the best chamber, I think, also, not only in Humboldt, but probably the state, right? Chamber of Commerce? Jesse and her board and all the volunteers that helped make that happen. But I was just blown away by all the businesses in McKinleyville. Some of them are kind of tucked away, and you don't really even know they're there, but they are. And I heard a lot of common themes in going around and talking with the businesses. One, Wednesdays are really slow, which yesterday was when I was knocking on doors. But Januaries are also pretty slow. But one of those other common themes, which we'll hit on several times, is this idea of shopping local. And it's this weird negative feedback loop, right? You see on Facebook, and I know we all realize this, that there is getting to be less and less options to buy clothing, for instance, right? What do we got? Ross and Kohl's, and I heard Ross might be closed. It's so where do you get your clothes, right? And there are other things. And COVID also, you saw the big blip because we were all locked down and everything. And so this whole idea of shopping online is really just blown up. Well, the thing you may or may not know about shopping online is that we don't get very much sales tax out of that. We just simply don't. The sales tax primarily goes to the community where the distribution center is. Amazon's big warehouses. We don't have any of those in Humboldt County. So we do not get that sales tax. So when you're sitting there and saying to yourself, well, it's cheaper online, it might be just if you're just looking at that product cost. But if you add up the cost of not getting the sales tax in regards to supporting our schools, supporting law enforcement, our roads, so then what do you see? Bonds and taxes on the ballot to support those things. So if you're thinking it's cheaper, I'm here to tell you it's not. It's not cheaper. It's costing us a fortune, with this trend. But it's also because, like I said, there's lack of options. So I get it. I get how difficult it is to try and figure out how you're going to get your products. But we can turn that around. And one of the ways we're turning that around is through the adoption of the Town Center Ordinance, which is over build-out, not tomorrow, but over a 20 or 30-year period, there will be 2,400 more units right downtown. Life Plan Humboldt is working Humboldt Commons on their project of senior housing across from the Town Center Safeway area and stuff. That will be done as mixed-use development, where you have retail shops on the ground floor, and you have apartments and condos above that, which are far cheaper than trying to buy a single-family home. So that's affordable housing. It's a whole lot more housing, and it creates that base of people that live right there in walking distance from stores and shops to actually support them. So a lot of people say to me, why would we build more retail when we have empty shops? And yeah, that's right. It seems crazy, doesn't it? But if you think about densifying, we've seen this all over the country, where when you densify populations, several things happen. One, you get that population that wants to shop right there. They want to walk out of their doors and go to retail shops and things. And this is going to be designed with open space, 13-acre park on the west end down to McKinleyville Avenue with wetlands restoration, trails, and open space within the development itself. Ann Pearson has put that in the hands of a nonprofit that's going to help guide the development of that. But the thing of it is, now that it's permitted, it's ministerially permitted. So for investors, you hear this all the time. They say, well, I don't know if I want to invest, because when I do invest and then I go to the planning commission to get my permits, they start throwing all these other conditions at me, right? And so the developers are like, I don't know if it's going to be worth it, because I don't know what's going to get required of me. Well, with form-based code and a town center ordinance, they now know exactly what they're going to have to do for that development. That increases the willingness and possibility of investment to help make all that happen. So that, I'm really excited about that, frankly. I know it's going to change things, as Scott says. That's one thing you can be assured of. Things are going to change. There's pros and cons with anything we do in life, but I firmly believe that that will be a godsend, and it will create the retail options for shopping that people so desperately say they want on Facebook or Nextdoor or wherever. So I hope that we can embrace that, and then over time find our way back to shopping at our local businesses. Because what I heard when I was knocking on all these doors of businesses was, like I said, January is slow, Wednesdays are slow, and many of them are absolutely hurting because of online shopping. They're barely making it. And they told me that straight up. I didn't ask them, hey, is online? I came in, I said, how's business? So it was an open-ended question, and I heard that from a tremendous amount of businesses. So that's a big thing, and like I said, the town center is a piece to that change. The other thing about densification is right now we don't really have transit in McKinleyville. We have this bus that comes through from Trinidad and West Haven, and it kind of hits by the high school, then downtown, then it goes to school, and then back on the freeway. It doesn't really serve the community. That's called inner city transit, right? And that's because you have a sprawled out community. So it doesn't support transit. So we're going to be densifying. That's going to support inner city transit over time, which I think will be an incredible positive thing for the community. We have located monies to start putting in a micro transit with vans, smaller vehicles, rather than these big 60-person buses and things like that. So in the next several months, look for that coming to the community, which I think will be a wonderful thing. We started to change our roads and starting to get them maintained. Now, it's not going to happen, tomorrow. Like, how many of you got your roads taken care of this year? Not many, right? Because we have a $50 million backlog, $50 million backlog on our county roads. So thank you to this community for supporting Measure O. At a difficult time, you taxed yourself another cent, 1 cent on sales tax, not on food, not on medical, but on other items. Thank you for that, because now we have money coming in, $24 million a year, $4 million is going to go to transit, $20 million to roads. And so that's going to make a big change over time. So Public Works is going to be prioritizing projects to help move that forward. And more importantly, that $20 million for roads, we'll be leveraging that at 1, 2, 3, 5, and 10 to 1 with state and federal funds, when federal money's there again, to be able to leverage that and have a whole lot more money for roads and leverage that a lot further. Another thing is we're exploring incorporation. The McKinleyville Advisory Committee has a subcommittee called MEAS, or McKinleyville Incorporation Exploration Subcommittee. We're not saying you should incorporate. We're not saying you should. What we're saying is that it's long overdue for us to get the data. Let's get the data. Let's look at the pros and cons and see what that tells us, and then have a community discussion, bring the community along with that process, which we have a plan for doing that, community outreach, and then we'll see if it makes sense. So thanks to Senator McGuire, we were able to get $50,000 to do the initial feasibility analysis for incorporation. Again, that's not saying we're going to do it. The way it will work is you do that initial analysis, then you do a comprehensive analysis, and if all that looks solid with LAFCO, Local Area Formation Commission, which I sit on that, we will then bring it to the voters. It will be your decision. You will decide whether or not you will incorporate. And often people say, well, my taxes will go up. Well, they might. Typically, cities have a higher tax rate than a county, but the reason is because those people in that community decided to tax themselves. Taxes don't get done to you. Taxes are something you decide, I want better roads. I want better schools. I want, more law enforcement. And so then you vote for that, right? So they might go up, but if you get improved services, that's what Measure O is about. People said, the roads are horrible. I want to see my roads get better. So people agreed to tax themselves. So we're very thankful to Senator McGuire. And I also want to give a shout out to Assemblyman Connolly. If you might stand up just for a second. Damon Connolly is here tonight. And Assemblyman Connolly is running for the state Senate seat that McGuire is going to be terming out in a year. And I'm terming out. I'm done in 11 months, 4 days, and 2 hours. So I'm not counting. But Mary Burke's running. There may be other people in the race, but you're going to be in great hands. And I've been honored to represent you for these 7 years. But Assemblyman Connolly, thank you, and also Assemblyman Rogers is not here tonight, but Heidi McHugh is back here in the back corner. And Heidi is Assemblyman Rogers' staffer here in Humboldt County, if you haven't met her. Hardworking individual. We're going to be looking to them to help us get to that final stage of funding here in a year and a half. So thank you for being here tonight. We really appreciate your engagement. As you know, law enforcement has improved. There's more staffing at our substation here in McKinleyville, thanks to Measure Z. And I want to give a shout out to Ginger, who's in the back, who works tirelessly on neighborhood watch programs and everything else. She sits on the Measure Z subcommittee and has been working on that for a long time. Thank you, Ginger. One of the other things that's unique about McKinleyville is that we hardly at all try to bring in any money from outside. That's unusual. Every other community in Humboldt County tries to bring in that outside money, right? Six Rivers Brewery does, but you really don't have people coming off the highway to shop at our local businesses. The Vista Point, how many of you go to the Vista Point facility out on the highway? Well, not if you're going north, right? You can't even get into it. It's dysfunctional. It's like crazy, but you can get into it going south when you've been going on the ocean for 100 miles, but when you're going north, that's the first place you see the Pacific Ocean since the Golden Gate Bridge. It's what we call an economic engine, or a $1 million view, right? So we're going to be working with Caltrans to create access when you're going north to get into that facility. The county owns a parcel on the south side. We're going to create a campground, a visitor center, a small event center for weddings, things like that. And we're going to be pulling people off the highway. And when they get off the highway, guess what they're going to want to do? Oh, God, let's spend the night. How many motels do we have in McKinleyville? 1, right? So Steve Mosier, the owner of the Airport Business Park, says, you do this Vista Point Park, you pull those people off the highway, and my business park will fill out in 5 to 10 years. Why? Because the demand will be there for services, okay? So all these things tie together, including the build out of the business park, the town center, the Vista Point Park. Our airport also has opportunities for hotels. We actually own the land right above Holiday Inn that has even better ocean views. On county property, your property, right? So we just hired a brand new aviation director. He comes to us with a tremendous amount of marketing and development experience, and we're going to be looking at doing some things there at the airport as well. So exciting things on the horizon for McKinleyville. Lastly, I want to say that I'm really excited to share with you that last night at the McMac, we officially launched the first of its kind McKinleyville Economic Development Study, a collaborative, community-centered effort designed to strengthen McKinleyville's long-term economic vitality. The project brings together an exceptional team from Cal Poly Humboldt, faculty and student researchers, MCSD research assistants, regional partners to develop a data-driven, forward-looking strategy for the community, strengthening local planning capacity and improving coordination amongst regional partners. And Josh Sedner from Cal Poly Humboldt is here tonight. Josh, there he is. Josh, stand up. So Josh has a table in the back where you can find out more information about this study and get involved on focus teams and a ad hoc team, community advisory team, because Cal Poly doesn't want to tell us, here's your plan. Cal Poly wants to help us develop our plan, community driven. So this is incredibly exciting, coming at the same time we're studying corporation feasibility and things like that. So Josh, thank you so much for your work. The partnership with Cal Poly is just so valuable. So lastly, I just want to say it has really been an honor to represent McKinleyville for 7 years. It has been the greatest honor of my life, and it's putting a real cap on my career. I'm retiring here at the end of the year. As I said, I'm counting the days down. I'm going to be 74. I'm ready. It's like, okay, this is good. But you're going to be in great hands, I know, as a community. I mean, you've got the best CSD in the state. You got best chamber in the state, right? So these are incredible things. How about a shout out to the CSD, right? Kirsten is going to give us some more information about the CSD here in a minute, but I just really want to thank the CSD, McMac, the school board, local churches, Rotary, Senior Center that Scott helps run with other community volunteers, as well as the Chamber, Sir Optimus, and so many other community groups and efforts. This community rises up to meet challenges with grit and compassion, and opportunities abound together as we are stepping up to realize those benefits for our future. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Supervisor Madrone. It's a pleasure to hear from you. Okay, remember those question cards. If you have a question or something that you would want to communicate, go ahead and fill them out, put your hands in there, and a volunteer will come by and pick them up. I see some coming in. Good. We don't want to end early. Okay, at this time, I would like to introduce to you McKinleyville Community Services District Park and Recreation Director, Kirsten Messmer.
Not quite as tall. Hello, welcome everyone to our facility. This is one of our Parks and Recreation facilities, if you weren't aware. I'm going to get to that a little bit in some of these slides, but I just wanted to say welcome, thank you for coming. I'm wearing two hats, mostly this hat right now, but I also am a chamber board member as well, currently serving as vice chair for 2026. So I do appreciate not only you attending to hear about Parks and Recreation, but also attending these community events that we're able to put on through the chamber. There's a lot of effort that goes into them, and so it's awesome to see this kind of turnout. So thank you. You all should give yourselves a round of applause. And a little bit about myself. I am the Parks and Recreation Director here for the Community Services District. We do water, sewer, streetlights, and Parks and Recreation. And so we are unincorporated, as many of you are aware and know. So we're the kind of biggest little local government entity for town. And I've been with the district for 12 years now. I started as a recreation coordinator and became the Parks and Recreation Director in July of 2024. So I am still learning some of my new responsibilities and tasks. As I get to in some of my later slides, a lot of that learning is because there's really new, exciting projects in the works. So let's get to those. So our current Parks and Recreation system, I want to just touch on this because there's a lot of people who don't know all of what we do or spaces and facilities that we own and maintain. Here at the Pearson Park campus, We have the park here. We have 5 buildings that we actually maintain right here. So Azalea Hall is one of them. This is probably our biggest rental space. Across the park, we have the McKinleyville Activity Center, which is our gymnasium. And then attached to that, most recently, 10 years ago, that'll celebrate its anniversary this year, is the Teen and Community Center. We also own and maintain the library building across the parking lot, as well as the sheriff's office across the parking lot. So that's county run programs in our facilities. And then also at the park, obviously, we have grass area, covered picnic areas. Phase 1 of the skate park is complete. And so that's kind of sums up Pearson Park. Our next biggest park is Hiller Sports Site, or Hiller Park and Hiller Sports Site, where we have 4 baseball, softball fields and 4 soccer fields, as well as an off-leash dog area, a playground, and some trails around our wastewater treatment facility there as well. That is also adjacent to the McKinleyville Land Trust Loop trails there as well, which are actually the trails that are right next to the river. Point at Charlie.
There you go.
Our next biggest park is currently in construction, so I'm going to get to that a little bit more in detail on a future slide, but that is going to be the BMX track and park. So it will have a BMX track. It'll also have some playground equipment, a half-court basketball court, so that will be our first open half-court of any kind basketball court open to the public every day. And then I'm sure I have some pickleballers here in this crowd. It'll also be our first outdoor pickleball court as well. And then Larissa Park is a tiny little neighborhood park. Most people probably have no idea that we even own that or maintain it or where it is. It's just got a tiny little tot lot and a picnic table. And then 3 main trail systems that we have, that we maintain in town, are the Midtown Trail, the Bottawat Estuary Trail, which is the trail system, the ADA trail system that's down at the end of School Road by the river. And then all of our, I abbreviated it there, the McKinleyville Community Forest Trail system that we're currently developing. And then open space maintenance zones. This is another thing that people generally have a lot of questions about, or don't understand, or don't even realize that we have as many as we do. So this is our parks crew. This is why they're so spread out and so spread thin. We have 26 open space maintenance zones that we also maintain in addition to everything else that I just talked about. About half of them are actually something that you could recreationally use. So some of them are like forested areas where there's a trail that goes through it in a neighborhood. The other half are things like detention ponding basins, which we have to maintain, mow, that kind of stuff, but there isn't a recreational use. Okay, then getting into our recreation programs. Our youth programs, we have a playgroup, which meets once a week. We will be adding a Sunday playgroup starting in February, so that'll be a trial run for that. Our athletics program is for 3 to 5 year olds, an intro to sports. We run Pee-wee and youth basketball leagues, summer break camps, drop-in basketball, pickleball, and the middle school dances for youth. And then our adult programs are our adult softball league. We have beginning pickleball classes, which are pretty popular. And then we have drop-in pickleball, basketball, kung fu, and tai chi. And then we also have a birthday party program, which is very, very reasonable. It's starting at $200 for a 2-hour party at the activity center. We do skating parties, basketball parties. We also have some teen center parties and playgroup parties as well. And then that brings us to our parks and our facilities. So one of the ways that we generate revenue for our department is through rentals of this space, or of our spaces. This space in particular is one of our biggest rentals, revenue generators. Gets rented for parties, birthdays, community events like this one. We have 2 commercial kitchens, this one and then one over at the teen center. And then the activity center also gets rented out from different youth sports and adult sport organizations, AAU basketball, wanting to rent the gym to get in an extra practice, things like that. So the activity center and the teen center also get rented. And then our park here, our 2 covered picnic areas here, the gazebo and the pavilion, pretty much every weekend in our nice weather, Saturday and Sunday, you can guarantee that both of those have been rented. And then I kind of want to also just touch on our team. Our team is how we do all of this. So I'm super proud of our team. I think we're small but mighty. We take on a lot. We do a lot. And so I'm the head of the team. And then underneath me, I have 2 recreation coordinators who do a lot of our recreation programming. One of our newest positions is the environmental programs coordinator, which is Jess. Oh, and Jensen, Kristen are my recreation coordinators. And the environmental programs coordinator position is new, though. It's something that we've brought on because of acquiring the community forest, which we're going to get to that as well. And then our parks crew is led by our parks maintenance supervisor, Brad, and underneath them he has Blake, Owen, Brandon, and Omar. And last year was the first year that we were actually able to add, so it was just 3 underneath him. We were able to add another parks maintenance supervisor, largely because of the passing of the increase for Measure B. So those of you who voted for that, thank you, because that's helping us to take care of as we take on all of these new projects and places and acres. We need to be able to add people to help take care of them. And then our part-time crew is approximately 38 people. We hire a lot of high schoolers and college-age students who are interested in working with youth, working our sports programs, camps. We have a lot of after-school leaders that we partnership with the school district to help with their staffing for the after-school program. So our crew is probably one of the things that I am most personally just proud of, because they're awesome and I love them and they do great work. And okay, new things. One of our newest parks that is currently under construction is the BMX track and park. It was a California State Parks Prop 68 awarded grant project. We were awarded $2.3 million back in 2020. And at the time, they asked us to make sure that we put in this amount for our inflation, knowing that you're not going to actually be building for a couple years. That amount is nowhere near what the actual inflation has been since 2020. So we do have some funding gap projects that we will not be able to complete with the $2.3 million. The biggest is the restrooms and concessions. So we have been actively fundraising for that. We've had McKinleyville ACE did a roundup for us for that. Madrone Rotary did their big dinner last year for us for that. So we're definitely reaching out to our community and actively fundraising, knowing how important having restrooms and concessions will be for once the park's in. In the meantime, we'll get portables, so there will be restrooms, but just not a physical building yet. We also need to pave the parking lot at some point when funding is available, and there is also plans for a second pickleball court. We do have a MOU that we're working on with McKinleyville BMX. So we do have a local, they are who kind of came to us and got this project started back before 2020, before we applied for the grant. We want to bring BMX to McKinleyville. We're losing our spot over at the county fairgrounds. And they've been fantastic partners. They are just great. And other big questions, there will be safety lighting. There will not be any nighttime races. So similar to, and this is a perfect opportunity for everyone to kind of see, if you look out into the park, you can see there's a couple lights out there. That is the equivalent of what safety lighting is. So it's not going to illuminate the track. It's not going to be stadium lighting. It's just to provide some illumination in case people do walk through the park when it's dark, even though it's closed, because sunrise to sunset. Oh, I did want to also touch on, I don't know who all has seen this photo on social media, but I got permission to share it because I thought it was such a cool perspective of the current construction. Okay, next other really, really big part that has come to our Parks and Recreation Department. In January of 2024, so again, very, very new, we actually acquired the property, which is almost 600 acres of forest land through a grant from the Trust for Public Lands, purchasing the property from Green Diamond and then gifting it to us, basically. Where am I going with that? So we acquired the property, and once we acquired the property, we had to create rules and regulations that would then go to our board. Within those rules and regulations, we're creating who could be on the committee, that we wanted to establish a forest committee. And this is why government things just take so long, because our monthly board meetings are only monthly, and those kinds of things have to go before the board twice before they can approve them. Any changes to them, then it pushes things down. So in the last 2 years, we have established the committee. That committee has been meeting. They decided, hey, this is such a big project. There's so many things we need to be focusing on that we need 2 subcommittees. So we ended up with a forest management plan and funding / budget subcommittee. And then we also ended up with a trails, infrastructure, and cleanups and security subcommittee. So those 2 subcommittees have also had to have rules and regulations created and implemented. But they are working on the management plan for the forest as well as the trails plan. So we're hoping this year, the management plan's a little bit ahead of the trails plan, so we'll probably see that first. But they've been working on it. So your community has been working on that. The full committee has 14 people on it. So that's some staff, but also community members. And every single one of those community members lives in McKinleyville. So that's exciting. And then I have a couple photos. So the first and most important one is my dog Zephyr. Those of you who know me know that I bring her to work with me all the time. She particularly loves field trip days where we get to go to the parks and get to get out and walk around. And then our other photos are just some photos I took, but also photos of, we were lucky enough to have Senator Huffman and Assemblymember Rogers, different days, be able to come up and tour the forest with us. So those are photos of those days that we were able to take them up and kind of tour around. I don't have all of the info on it. We did get $1 million in federal funding thanks to Senator Huffman's office. We should be hearing anytime now on what exactly that's going to look like. And so once we have that, we're definitely going to be sharing it out. I don't at the moment have the information to share with you other than it's very exciting. We are going to get to use $1 million for some of the many projects that we've identified for this property and within the next federal fiscal year. And then my second to last slide is the McKinleyville skate park. We are actively fundraising for phase 2. So those of you who've seen phase 1, there's people on it every day, except for really, really rainy days. But other than that, I see people when I drive by, there's people out there utilizing it every day. It's such a cool thing to have in our community. We need about $250,000 to complete phase 2, about $28,000 in the bank, Charlie? Yep, okay. So we definitely got a little bit of a ways to get there. If you use this QR code, it'll take you to the Humboldt skate park, or the McKinleyville skate park's donation page. And it has more information. They have a tile program right now where you can buy a 4x4 tile or a 6x6 tile. And you can go to Seago and create the art that you want on that tile. Or if you have a business and you want to have your business logo on that tile, you can do that as well. If you have a business, I know that Charlie, if it's 100. If he gets 100 businesses that buy a $2,500 tile, he would have $250,000. And I think he has sold.
There you go. We have done that. We've got 3 of them.
3. So challenge to you business owners.
So we have more business owners.
So yes, we are also helping to actively fundraise for phase 2 of our skate park. And lastly, I'm going to leave you with our town is awesome and our Parks and Recreation is amazing. And we're so awesome that there's at least three I've identified, other agencies or nonprofits that also provide you with Parks and Recreation opportunities right here in town. And if you have issues with any of these properties, I just want you to know not to contact me. I mean, but also go there. One of Zephyr's favorite places to go is Clam Beach County Park. So I love taking my dog there. She loves it. But that and Hammond Trail are Humboldt County Parks and Recreation, or Humboldt County Parks. Azalea State Natural Reserve and Little River State Beach are the state parks. And then the Land Trust has 3 properties, 2 which are available. So the Mad River Bluffs trails are the trails that are adjacent to Hoa Park. The Cha Gao Cho trails are south of Hellsport and U-Haul. And then they also take care of the Dow's Prairie Educational Wetland. That's not as accessible for recreation because it is wetland, but they are maintaining it as a wetland, which is great. And then I'm done.
Okay, thank you, Kirsten. Now, if anyone has any questions, make sure you use the cards that have been provided to you. When you get them filled out, raise them, wave them in the air. A volunteer will come by and collect them. And I'll add them to the stack. Okay, and they're coming in. We might as well start on this. Here's the first question. Okay, and this is addressed to Supervisor Madrone, but after he answers this question might be also addressed by Josh Sender, if he's still here. Oh, there he is. Okay. Will affordable housing be considered as part of the economic development study?
Absolutely, and I will say that that's exactly what we're thinking about with the town center ordinance. Single-family residences last year at the state of McKinleyville, Heather, local real estate agent, said that a single-family home, 20 to 30 years old, here in McKinleyville is going for $500,000. How do your children get into housing, right? So apartments, condominiums, these are far more affordable, so that's part of it. But I know Josh has said that there will be a focus group that's working on that. And do you want to add anything to that, Josh?
Welcome input from the community on this particular topic. What challenges are you facing with respect to housing? Either consider participating in our focus group or do the online survey, or likewise, we're happy to just sit on the phone with you and listen to your issues. So we'll try to definitely make that a major focus of our report.
Okay, awesome. Thank you very much. Okay, this one is also for Supervisor Madrone. The vans for local public transit sound excellent. Will they be electric? And can we create a solar field to charge?
Well, as some of you may know, the MCSD has a solar field that they use at their sewage plant for a lot of their work. So they're very much out there in front of things, making things happen. I do not believe the vans will be electric, but our bus fleet with Humboldt Transit Authority is converting over to hydrogen buses. So as we speak, we've bought several new ones, we're buying more, so that's the future of that. And I know they're looking at how they can also convert the rest of the fleet to either electric or hydrogen, so important stuff.
Okay, thanks, Steve. Okay, this one is for Kirsten. What is the current dollar amount deficit for the BMX park for all the items that you listed?
All of them, I do not have off the top of my head. I know that the bid for the current contractor to put in the restrooms, that bid line item was between $350,000 and $400,000 just for the restroom and concessions piece. Keeping in mind too, all of our projects are all prevailing wage projects. So what you may think of a typical construction project, yeah, you know, we could buy a house for that. Or have a down payment towards a house and make it live over that. But unfortunately, we are government, so we do have that prevailing wage piece. That being said, we had Rotary built us the sheriff's office station back in the day, and then gifted it to us, and they didn't have to pay prevailing wage to build it because they built it and then gifted it to us. So there's ways that we are working with our local companies and businesses. We're in talks with them on how can we get these built as affordably as possible, knowing that it is such a community need. And I love that we are able to even have these conversations with our local businesses because they do support us, they support this community, they support the youth in this community, and want to see, you know, great things here because it in return supports them because people want to come here, they want to move here, they want to live here. I don't have a total number. I might have gotten off a little on a tangent there, but it is a big number that we do need to come up with.
Okay, thank you. Okay, the next one is addressed to Supervisor Madrone. How does this development to the McKinleyville town center, build out, etc., going to affect traffic? I heard that the lanes of traffic will be reduced from 2 lanes each way to 1 lane each way. And if this happens, how much of Central Avenue will this affect, and when will this happen?
Oh, I figured that question would come up, right? You all thought that one would come up probably, right? Because the whole idea of reducing from 5 lanes to 3 lanes was very controversial. And while there is a schematic drawing of one cross-section of what that might look like in the town center ordinance that was approved, it's not happening. It's not happening tomorrow. What's going to happen is that we're going to have to go back to the drawing board and come up with preliminary engineering plans that might include some roundabouts as well as other things. See, the thing about roundabouts, when you build them completely, not like what we did at Hiller, which was a temporary mess, frankly, we know that. We've got a lot of feedback on that one as well. But when you build them properly, you actually get to where you're going quicker. It slows traffic down, but it actually keeps it moving at the same time because there's no stop lights. How many of you sat at the lights on Central Avenue for 3 or 4 rounds, but I'm here, and you're like, should I back up and hit the clicker again, or whatever, right? So traffic lights are not necessarily the solution to safety and or getting home sooner, quicker, and all that. So by doing that preliminary engineering, we have to sit down with the emergency responders, fire department, police. How's this going to work? What works for them? We got to sit back down with the community as well at MCMAC and in other events because MCMAC only reaches so many people. They try hard, but we have to reach more of the community and really discuss what does it look like to create safety improvements on Central Avenue, but at the same time not congest things, right? Which people are very fearful of. Today, Public Works was meeting with Julie Giannini and others at the middle school because, as you know, Morris closed. A lot of those students are going to the middle school or to Dallas Prairie. And so it's already a real safety hazard at that Railroad Avenue, Central Avenue intersection. So we were discussing short-term improvements that can be made there, as well as longer-term improvements. For instance, along most of Central Avenue on the east side, there is the old bridle path, as well as a sidewalk, and they both kind of do this thing, right? With some nice landscaping. But it's not very efficient. And I don't know, when was the last time anybody saw a horse on Central Avenue? A year ago? 5 years? 5 years? 10 years?
2 weeks.
2 weeks. Okay, thanks, Dennis. But I will say that I've heard Dennis say in many public meetings that the bridle path makes no sense anymore. We've got a 20-foot wide right-of-way on that east side that we could reimagine and maybe create a 12-foot wide multi-use pathway like the Hammond Trail off the curb, back away, so bicyclists and pedestrians and others can actually be able to move back and forth. So they're talking about a pilot project there from Railroad back to Pickett at Eureka Natural Foods, where we might be able to try and look at implementing that. That's going to take grant money, just like what Kirsten is saying, that these things all take grant money. But I will say, MCSD has expert grant writers. They're really successful. Charlie is expert at raising monies, as well as others, the BMX group and others. So we're going to have to raise some money in order to implement that pilot. But our children matter, right? The safety for our kids and things. How many of you ever experienced stopping at one of those blinking lights with the crosswalks where somebody pressed the button and it's blinking and you stop in the right lane, but the left lane person just keeps barreling through and the children are coming out in front of your car and you're like, it's not good. So there's some things that we need to look at doing. So please, rest assured, there's no dropping down to 3 lanes happening anytime soon. And the evidence of that is, how long do you think it took us to do the town center ordinance? Right? It was in the community plan in 2001. It took us 25 years to do the ordinance, so probably 50 years to do central. But no, it won't take 50. But we are going to come back to the community and figure out a plan that works, that this community supports, okay? I will assure you of that. Of course, I only have 11 months, but please hold the new person's toes to the fire on that, whoever that might be, because this matters to the community a lot. How we redesign what we do for safety on Central. So that's the best I can answer that at this time. It's very...
Okay, thanks, Steve. Okay, the next question is for Kirsten. What is the MCSD occupancy rate of facility usage, and can the facilities be promoted more or accept new uses? Is the income negligible? Does revenue support operating and maintenance costs?
Well, I can tell you there are some months where our facilities are jam-packed booked, specifically basketball season in the activity center, constantly turning people away who want to try to do a birthday party. And then there is some slow times for some of our facilities as well. We do advertise specifically for this facility in a couple of our local wedding guidebooks that come out every year. So we're definitely out there advertising this rental space for the size of the space, and our rental rates definitely do come in below similar spaces throughout Humboldt County. So when people find out about this space, we see a lot of repeat renters that keep coming back. So that's also exciting. And then as more people get into these spaces and realize that we even have them, that has also helped increase our rentals. Facilities definitely are expensive to maintain and to run PG&E. Yeah, we take care of our own water and sewer, so there's that too. But in general, facilities are expensive to have, but they are such an added community benefit. If we didn't have this facility, where would we be meeting right now for this event? So.
Okay, thank you. All right, we have 7 more questions, and I'm going to say about 17 more minutes. So we're going to try to, if you can, please answer the questions concisely yet completely. Another one for Kirsten and potentially Charlie Caldwell. What does the second phase of the skate park entail?
I'm going to hand that off to Charlie.
I'd like to throw that picture back up, but the second part of the skate park is 6,500 square feet. What we have is 5,000 square feet. And it's going to go towards Central Avenue. It'll have a double bowl system in it. It's kind of like a clove leaf almost. It will have more street area, more berms. So it basically is just going to be built off the backside of the current skate park. It'll have a couple deeper bowls, more street skating, a whole bunch more transition with activities in the center. And that is all setting up for phase 3, which is the large bowl system that pushes out towards the street. So our estimate last year was $250,000. Of course, we know things are increasing, but that's The original estimate was a little below that, but I pushed it up knowing what our costs are doing. That's why we're trying to raise that much. We have till March, and I need to hit a certain number before I lock in our primary concrete who has done the design. And if you look at any of our places, you'll see what that design is. If we don't get him this summer, then we'll lock him in for next summer. By next summer, we should be able to raise the funds. Also opens the door up for a matching grant that we didn't apply for this year with MCSD. So there's avenues and directions, and we're looking for grants all the time. And we're really reaching out to businesses. And the neat thing about the art tiles, we're doing it at our local. We've already bought tiles. So the tiles are there. You can go in and do the tile. We fire the tiles. We haven't started displaying any of the tiles. We're keeping track of all the tiles right now. And they're going to be part of this next phase. So that's kind of a huge change. So I'm trying to be quick. And concise.
Okay, thanks, Charlie. The next question is for Supervisor Madrone. You campaigned on getting the financial data from the county. The county continues to ignore requests for the fiscal data needed to explore incorporation. What will you do before you leave to get that financial data?
Yes, it's absolutely true. I campaigned both of the terms that I ran, that I would get the data. And I will say that it's been complicated at the county because they've never kept the data that way. For instance, the Sheriff's Department, the data isn't kept by McKinleyville. It's called the Northern Area Command. And so that's all of northern Humboldt, all the way out to Willow Creek and Orleans, is all in one data unit. So the data has not been kept in easily obtainable fashion. That's been the barrier. It's not that the county doesn't want to do this, because our board has multiple times voted unanimously to support this incorporation study and looking at what's feasible, what's not. And that's really unique. I will say, when you look around the state of California, first of all, it's not easy to incorporate anymore because of this thing called revenue neutrality, and because a new city does not get its share of vehicle license fees. But in many cases, with a half a dozen or so new cities in the last 15 years, 20 years, legislation has been submitted to give that new city a share of vehicle license fees. So we've already been talking with our legislative reps about that, but the county and the board have been fully supportive of looking at this. I think they'd like to get out from underneath trying to run a city. I mean, for a county to run a city, it's kind of crazy, to be honest. It's not efficient. It doesn't give you all the services you deserve. Right now, you've got me representing you rather than your own city council, rather than your own planning commission, right? From your community, okay? I've tried my best, but one of the primary reasons for doing this is called local control. So we are gathering the data, and one of the ways that you do this when the data is difficult to gather is you do comparisons with other cities of similar size. Cal Poly Humboldt, Josh Zedner already have done a significant study looking at a lot of this with the data that was available, and the county has stepped up to try and work with new software to make that data even more available. So the county is on board. We're not trying to stall anything or hold anything back. It's difficult, but we are looking at comparable stuff, and this new $50,000 study is going to bring in a third-party expert, unbiased, so to speak, that's going to look at all these things and gather more data than we've ever had before. So.
Okay, thank you, Steve. Okay, the next one is for Kirsten, and this one is going to kill two birds with one stone. You see this question twice. What are ways someone can get involved in leadership positions in McKinleyville? For example, the Community Forest Committee, MCMAC, MESC, the Committee on Active Transportation, MCSD, and others.
So we, for MCSD, we have the PARC, which is Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee, which it meets quarterly now, and they advise on parks and recreation related things. There are 2 vacant alternate member seats on that committee, so if anyone's interested, there's more information on our website about that committee, as well as our McKinleyville Community Forest Committee. I guess we just had one person, the McKinleyville Community Forest Committee was full. We had someone just resign or step down. So we're going to be opening that up. It's not, and we haven't gotten our website updated, all of those things yet, but there is going to be one position that we will be accepting applications for in the month of February. So there is one spot on the whole committee that we will be taking applications for in the upcoming month, and we'll be appointing from those applications. And then the subcommittees, the forest management plan and funding budget subcommittee has 5 open seats. We've not had one person apply for that subcommittee, whereas the TICS, which is what we lovingly refer to as the Trails Infrastructure Cleanup Securities Subcommittee, has all of their public member seats are currently full for 2026. So there's not any positions for that subcommittee, but there are some for the FMP, FB subcommittee, as well as those 2 alternates for the park, and then the one that we will be releasing probably early next week, more information about for the full forest committee.
Okay, thank you.
Would you like the other things that were mentioned in the question?
Sure.
So for MCMAC, we actually have an opening on the MCMAC committee right now as we speak. And so if you want to apply for that open position, it's an at-large position that's appointed by the Board of Supes as a majority. 3 of the positions are appointed by the 5th District Supervisor. 3 are by the Board of Supervisors at large, and a majority of those voters. 2 of them are representatives from the McKinleyville Community Service District. So it's an open at-large position. You can go to the county's website, humboldtgov.org, put in the search bar MMAC, or McKinleyville Municipal Advisory Committee, and there's an application there online that you can submit. You'll need to submit it by, I thought it was February 18th, but it's actually February 25th, I believe, at this point. At any rate, you need to get that in, in the next several weeks, along with a resume, and then the board will agendize it for March 3rd and make an appointment to the MCMAC to fill out that board. That comes from the resignation from Maya Conrad, who's there all the way through the town center ordinance, but has other duties now. As far as the subcommittees within MCMAC, they typically have some MCMAC members on that subcommittee, as well as community members at large. So MEIS, or the McKinleyville Incorporation Exploration Subcommittee, is, I think, has just filled out the ranks there currently.
We have one opening in Mesa.
One opening in MEIS, and then there are openings also in the multimodal subcommittee.
I'm not sure about that.
Okay.
Always welcome to have someone come in and participate.
And if you want to know more, you can email me, or you can email Mary, the chair of the MCMAC, at
McKinleyville. The email is McKinleyvillemac@gmail.com.
nice and easy, McKinleyville, MAC, McKinleyville, MAC@gmail.com. So that's how you can get involved in those other committees. Please get involved. We need more people.
Yes, we do. Thank you. Okay, this one is for Supervisor Madrone. Many of us prefer the rural character of McKinleyville rather than urbanization. What would you say is the best way for us to protect our rural heritage?
Yeah, that's definitely a complicated issue. As many of you know, you live here, McKinleyville's grown a lot in the last 20 years. I think it was more like 6,000 people about 20 years ago, and it's now 17,000 people plus. It's actually the 3rd, and in the summertime when the students leave, it's the 2nd largest community in Humboldt County. So it has grown tremendously. Why? Because it had all this flat land where development could occur, in particular housing. So we've seen a tremendous amount of housing tracts go in over time. Central Avenue hasn't changed a whole lot in that time, other than the Central Avenue Road itself got rearranged and redone, but the shopping center was there. The other one got added at the south end of town, which is now where U-Haul is. So it's a complicated question. I mean, I think a lot of people want ruralness and small quaintness and the rest, but then they also want more shopping opportunities. So there's these tug and pull dynamics in this reality of, do you just stay the way you are and then you don't have the shopping options and the local jobs and the rest? Because of the 17,000 people, maybe 5,000 people are employed. COVID, really, a lot of people retired after COVID, right, in that period. And of those 5,000 people, maybe a couple hundred have jobs here in McKinleyville, and the other 4,000 go to Arcadia and Eureka every day, commuting out of town because of the lack of jobs in town. So, you can't have it all. as they say in life, and there's pros and cons to everything. But, you know, I think because we have the MCMAC, which I really give the McKinleyville Community Service District a lot of credit for, because back about, what was it, about 15 years ago or so, when this thing called RENA, the Regional Apportionment of Housing Units, came around and said, well, McKinleyville, you're going to have to put in 5,000 units or something. These are things that are dictated by the state of California because we have a housing crisis, right? So when that happened, the CSD said, whoa, that's more than we can handle with our infrastructure, more than we'd like to see. And the compromise, they actually had to sue the county over that. And I don't know the details, but David Couch is here, Dennis Mayo's here. They know a lot more of the details. But my understanding, if I'm not correct, David, please jump in. But my understanding is that the settlement agreement of that was that the county would back off on the number of units they were trying to place here. In exchange, the community said, we want a McKinleyville MAC. We want a municipal advisory committee because the CSD can only cover sewer, water, parks, and streetlights. But it can't deal with planning issues and roads and law enforcement. CSDs have certain powers. So having the MAP provides this voice for the community to look at these larger issues like the town center, like other transportation issues and things like that. So that was the compromise. And the thing that people don't understand is that the 2001 community plan actually had a much higher density and a much higher number of units of housing that were supposed to go into the town center. The recent town center ordinance that was just passed reduced those numbers from where it was at, okay? It's still a lot. It's still a lot of change over time, but that came in as a consideration, and we tried our best to try and bring it back while still considering the need for housing.
Okay, thank you. Next question goes to Kirsten. When will McKinleyville get our first full court basketball court?
You sure you don't want to take this one, Will? When will we get our first full court basketball court? When funding and a space allows. Although I will say the Morris school site, I can't completely speak for this for Julie or for the school district. They are looking at trying to, they have a playground at that school site, which is going to be not quite a traditional school. They have many uses that they're toying with, but one of the things that has been brought up to me is the possibility of fencing in that playground and maybe some of those outdoor basketball courts at the school from the school campus, so that way they would be accessible to the public more regularly, because they're currently fenced in behind the school campus, so that would take some fencing and figuring out bathrooms potentially for that space as well. So there is some possibility that there may be some more access to the courts that are already in place at Morris. Other than our half court, Parks and Rec does not have any plans in the near future. We do know that pickleball and basketball in particular, based on our community survey, were highly sought after by many of the community, that we want more access to those kinds of courts outdoors.
Okay, thank you. Okay, our next question, and this would likely be our last question, is addressed to either Supervisor Madrone and or Kirsten. Does McKinleyville have any goals regarding waste reduction? Who wants to field that one?
Well, I sit on the Humboldt Waste Management Authority, and there's a new state law that said we have to now start collecting our organic waste separately and do something with that. So that's been one of the big issues. We actually shut down our recycling center a couple years ago because we were forced to do this other element. We're lucky to have Humboldt Sanitation here in the community. They do a great job. They provide free dumpsters with county assistance for our trash batch that Scott helps coordinate. And sometimes we work with property owners that are just overwhelmed with solid waste, and for no real fault of their own, we can come in and sometimes help deal with that. Back about 30 years ago in the 80s, 35 years ago, there was actually free dumping in Humboldt County for a while, for about 8 years. There was this massive amount of dumping out by Pequon, up past Upa, and a lot of other places. And for a while, it was all free, and a lot of the illegal dumping went away. But now that we charge pretty substantial fees for dumping, including $50 for anything large, and this and that and everything else, guess what? We're seeing a lot of illegal dumping again. I have been making the argument for a long time that, I mean, how we reduce waste is through our choices, our individual personal choices when we go to the store. You know, bringing our own jars, our own bags, and making use of the bulk stuff at stores, and making more choices that could lead to a reduction in waste, right? As Americans, we buy a lot of stuff. Right? We have to build garages and another garage to store all our stuff, right? So, but those are values that I'm not going to say are good, bad, or ugly. It's just what it is. So I don't know how you reduce waste except for changing behaviors, right? But I will say that as far as waste on our highways, our roads, and the rest of it, I firmly believe that it's costing us more money in the long run from environmental damage and cleanups than the amount of revenue we receive from charging people for dumping. Now, there's only one county in California that actually does this. It's Kern County. They actually allow for free dumping. So I'm looking into that, trying to see, have our public works director look at the examples of that. But like I said, the only way you reduce waste is through personal choices that we all make, and education around all that. Reduce, reuse, recycle. We've all heard those monikers, and stuff. So, but I do think that it's getting worse again. We're starting to see a lot of dumping all over the place out there, and it's really sad, frankly. So, no easy wand. I don't have a Harry Potter wand yet, so it's like you do what you can, right? So.
Okay, thank you. Okay, that's all the time for the questions and answers. I did have 2 questions that we weren't able to address. For that, we apologize. And I do believe that the Chamber of Commerce has some parting remarks, so I'll turn it back over to Jesse. Thank you.
Well, thank you all for being here this evening and taking part in this important community discussion, hearing from our community leaders. Let's give all of our speakers a round of applause tonight. A quick ask for everyone. If you received this agenda when you came in, there's some more out there or up here. There's a few things. On the back, there's 2 QR codes. So the top one is actually a feedback survey for tonight's event. We're always wanting to improve. Like I said, this is the 10th event, 10th annual State of McKinleyville we've had. Each year, we want to hear from our community what they want to see here, who they want to hear from, what topics are important, and the only way we can do that is if we get feedback. So please take a moment. It should take 2 or 3 minutes maybe. Scan that and let us know what you thought of tonight and what you hope to see at future events, both for next year and not this exact same event, but we do many community events, as I mentioned earlier, throughout the entire year, and our goal is always to collaborate more, bring more people in to be a part of it, to continue to help our community be a great community to live, work, and play in. The second QR code on the bottom will take you to a webpage for the study that was talked about with Cal Poly Humboldt. So there's 2 surveys available in there for residents and businesses, as well as information about being a part of a focus group. So if you don't mind, take a moment to do that. Our speakers and our tablers will be here for a little while longer, so if you didn't get a question answered or had some more pop up, please take some time and talk to those folks. And thank you again for being here tonight. Have a lovely evening.